are vicious, terrifying creatures, stuff of nightmares in both their designs and capabilities. Ancient creatures that have been around since the dawn of time, and their existence shaped humanity's emotions, ideologies, and actions. In this video, we'll be going over the origin of the EIDOS and several idols that exist in the comic republic. Without further ado, let's get into it. There are several idols in the universe of the comic republic, each representing a different form of emotion and serve a different purpose from the rest. There are also some that are more dangerous than others. According to the story so far, 7 idols exist in the comic republic. Their names and titles varies and showcases the high level of thought that have been put into these stories by the writers. The art is exquisite as well, although that's more of an acquired taste for a series like Eru. In Eru issue 4, we get a glimpse of the origin of the idols. In the start of the book, we are shown this beautiful piece of art. It looks like a door with a central symbol on it, with 7 other smaller symbols circling the larger one, and a hand protruding out of each of them. The 7 hands and symbols symbolizes the 7 idols, and their verve, or should I say sigil, is present in each of those symbols. It reads, "Dictate from the Ashabi Ashra," meaning the 10 Fingers Creed. The primordial of light, Wahak, who is also known more famously as Obatala, and he is also one of the first beings created by the All-Father in the comic republic, the Irumoles. And it continues, the precursor of humanity, Adamaha, which also means Eniyan, or humanity. In Adamaha's defiance, he beat the drums of the All-Father's wrath, danced into the floor of his anger, and he will be tormented in the presence of the primordials, and in the presence of the All. I think what this means is that humanity, which was once whole, performed an act that angered the All-Father, resulting in a grave punishment for mankind in the presence of the primordials. It continues saying, "And Wahak would judge him in his light. He will bind him in his terror and cut him in halves, but he can never kill him, and whoever brings his pieces whole would free him." I think what this means is that humanity's punishment was met out by the primordial of light, the Orunmila called Obatala. He cut the idols or the incarnates of humanity's emotion in halves, but he can never kill them, and whoever can merge these pieces together can free them. This might explain why the idols need a host to function properly and carry out their activities. Although nothing has been confirmed, as this part of the story has not been explained in details yet. This is still the most likely theory towards the origin of the idols, but there might be some changes as there are a lot of ways you can interpret these parables. It continues saying, "In his righteousness, Wahak mandated us to guard the halves. He anointed us on our head, Jaromi." I think what this means is that the primordial of light, Obatala, appointed the 10 Fingers Creed to guard the halves, which are the idols, and appointed members of the Ashabi Ashari Creed, the 10 Finger Creed, as Jarumi, his warriors. This means that the power and abilities they display might come from him, and it makes sense that they are the major contenders with the idols in the present day. It continues saying, "The halves, the formula for humanity, fear, love, anger, sadness, joy, surprise, and their empathy." I think this means that the halves are the idols, the emotions of humans, the very ingredients that composes the mental state of people. Because, let's face it, what are humans without their emotions? The next piece of art we are shown in this issue shows all the idols, or the halves if you will, trapped in their prisons of stone. The stones all have their symbols engraved on it, and the names and titles of all the 7 idols are then revealed. We see the prison of the idols of joy, the land-crying king of abundant cluster, the prison of the idols of anger, the madness of spiteful eyes, the prison of the idols of love, the ever-luminous shining star, the prison of the idols of fear, the composer of screams, the prison of the idols of sadness, the river that drowns eyes, the prison of the idols of surprise, the one that can start to stone, the prison of the idols of empathy, the mayor who destroys mercifully. Wow, just reading that was fun. This tells us that all the idols were trapped for a significant period of time, but something or someone must have set them free, the incarnates of our emotions. Anyways, the explanation continues saying, "But not for 30 pieces of silver, but for the potential that was painted into our pupils." This says not for 30 pieces of silver, implying that they, the 10 Fingers Creed, didn't betray their sacred duty for money, but because they were inspired by the powers of the idols. What we could not see but feel, the braille print danced on our fingertips. The shrouded word spelled power. This tells us that they couldn't see the powers of the idols, but they could definitely feel it. Like a blind man reading his braille, they felt on their fingertips the idols were vessels of immense power. So we ought to free the Adamaha's aspects, his idols. This is the final piece of the puzzle. The Jarumi, or warriors of the 10 Fingers Creed, the Ashabi Ashra, tasked with safeguarding the prison of the idols, set them free. In the test for power, or maybe because of their curiosity, we don't know for sure. But one thing we do know is that they definitely regretted their decision. We betrayed our mandate and were cast from the Jaromi clan. This place is quite self-explanatory, and it explains why they kept on going after the idols. They had nowhere to return. There is none like anger, the most reckless of the passion. So of all the idols they set free, the only one they mentioned was the idols of anger, because he has been stated to be the most destructive of all the idols. And oh boy, by the supremacy did he proceed to decimate an entire country, promptly setting the entire city of Mogadishu, Somalia on fire in the year 1993, influencing people's emotional state and infuriating them further, agitating for more conflict in the middle of an already very tense and hostile environment. He also possesses the ability to manipulate people's emotions, but unlike Eru, who manipulates people's fear, he manipulates their anger and brings out their inner wrath, making him the most destructive of all the incarnates. The idols then moves on to a host, inhabits the body of a little boy, 14 years of age, and also assumes the status of the Sultan of Somalia through cunning and trickery. Sultan Zawal Muhammadu Adir was secretly the idol's anger, and his reign was quite suspicious as he didn't age. He grew up to become a 37-year-old man looking like he was a 14-year-old boy. According to Eru, this is because the host of an EIDOS doesn't need to eat, sleep, or even age. Anyways, his palace is busted into and he is attacked with a barrage of arrows, which he quickly stops with his bare hands. And the invaders are none other than the 10 Fingers Creed. The servants of the idols, the guardians of wrath, all rush to defend their masters. With this, we get a proper introduction to the EIDOS of anger. A full-on battle ensues with 9 members of the 10 Fingers Creed going against the full might of the incarnate of anger and his servants. Constantly complaining that the 10 Fingers Creed was no match for him and not able to provide him with enough challenge in battle, he took his weapon, Samsung down, Samsung's jawbone, and tried to threaten the 10th finger to tell him where the last missing finger was. But he wouldn't. Then it was revealed that this was all an ambush. The last finger hid somewhere in the palace and prepped his attack, while the fingers bought time. They played with their lives, but it was all worth it as he summoned all their marks and used the power in it to begin sealing the EIDOS of anger into an artifact called the Scepter of Maddening Him. While this was going on, Eru was busy lecturing in University Theatre, where he sensed his brother in distress. The word "Zanak is come" echoed in his ears, and he knew he had to act. Eru returned to his home, or his dimension if you will, called the Nowhere Kingdom, Ripri Adohi. He is welcomed by his living home, and he scolds it about keeping an intruder hostage, and tells it to let him go, as he was thoroughly terrified. Of course, he was in the house of the EIDOS of fear. He asked to go to his study or for his house to open the doors, and then he called for Adamo, the first of his servants. He reveals his idolon candles, and it seems all of them are lit except 2. I don't know what this means, but we do know he uses the candles. He was able to find where Ezanak was by melting the wax onto every country, and the only country he dropped on was Somalia. His servants stated that they needed to hurry to this location, and Eru suggested that they use the fastest route, the end world, the place where Eru kept all of his worst nightmare creatures he had captured throughout all of his years as a vigilante and the composer of screens. With this, he summons the rest of his servants, the Jarumi, Avakala, the guardians of nightmares. They consisted of Paleface, Adimu Ayo or Bailbogun, Madame Koinkoi, and Ojuju Calabar. They looked badass, with Eru even commenting that passing end world never ends well. We then cut back to Somalia, where Zanak, the EIDOS of anger, the madness of the spiteful eyes, is in his third form, thoroughly resisting being sealed by the 10 fingers, until the 10th fingers are killed by a mysterious individual possessing a bow and an arrow. He claims to have sent the blood priest and the tanker Borta, which led me to the conclusion that he might be working for the Scourge Trait. Back at the Kingdom of Nothing, Eru's lair, we see them contemplating their final decision to go through the end world. We are told that a normal portal would not suffice as it would be detected by whoever broke the seal on Zanak. So the only option was to go through the end world. Eru made a cut on his palm and uses his blood to open up the red door to the end world, and gave his servants specific instructions on how to cross the mysterious prison realm. He gets into a coffin and is transported by the guardians of nightmares through his mysterious world, where one of the creatures in there actually manages to erase Ojuju Calabar from existence because he broke one of the rules. Like, I'm not kidding, this guy gets literally deleted from the computers by the creators. The Comic Republic universe is quite a unique one. In the Ishunai of Eru, we find out the identity of the mysterious Mark Starcher, said to be Meidawa, the Red Sun, the fallen and forgotten, he whom sat at the tables with the first sons of creation, he who the right of vengeance is given upon all things. I think this means that he is either a member of the first race or deeply affiliated with them, and plays a major role in the conflicts of the universe. In the middle of the battle-torn Somalia, where the EIDOS of anger influences people's emotions again, drawing up wrath within them to destroy, pillage, and set everything around them on fire. With the amount of anger and wrath in Nigeria currently, you'd think the EIDOS of anger, Zanak, was present here. But most times, anger can be good, because how can you dismantle a bad government without a little rage? Anyways, in the midst of all this unrest, Meidawa manages to subdue Zanak with his flaming arrows, and then they talk about their current situation, with Meidawa telling him the reason he's being attacked now, instead of just being ignored like always, is because his host is too young and lacks control over the EIDOS, so he was the easiest target. He informs him that his arrows are a gift forged from the flesh of Adagbagbe, formed in his void heart, mixed with the emptiness that exists before all things, implying that his arrows can kill even the EIDOS. And he flat out tells Zanak that his brothers who are coming to save him are going to be coming to his slaughter, and that he was the butcher. We are at the end taken elsewhere to see other EIDOS that haven't been introduced in the story yet. In the Aokigara forest, the place where people go to end their unending woes, we see Yasuke, the EIDOS of sadness, the river that drowns the eyes, he who drinks the tears of men in place of sweet wine, the laughing sadist. And in Lanoi, Chicago, we see Bobby, the EIDOS of joy, the crying king of abundant cluster, he who brings joy, the comedian whose woes bring much happiness and joy, telling a little joke to an audience. That's where the story ends for now, but I can't wait for the next release. The hosts of the remaining 3 EIDOS have not even made their appearance in the story yet, but they definitely will, given time. I'll continue to cover more stories about Eru and other EIDOS, as well as other characters in the comic republic, so make sure to stay tuned for more of this.